And I'm Guy, and this is your home for everything Alberta independence, broadcasting twice daily at 12 noon and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, once on Saturday at 5 p.m., and interviews dispersed throughout the week. Although I will say, starting next week, we're only going to broadcast once a day at 5 p.m. We're starting to plan for edited content and some other things for the channel.
True. And you'll see those changes coming up soon as well. Yeah. But before we start, sorry, I hate yelling at you every time, but I got so used to saying it like that. Before we start, thank you so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe because it really does help us out. It's what helps us out the most. Actually, also comment throughout the live because we try to read all your comments after each segment. But if you feel so inclined and really, really want your comment read, you can always super chat and we pause the whole show for those. And also we have memberships.
Yeah. Let's get into, actually, we got quite a few comments. I see Michael Drader there, Glenn Gunn.
Glenn Gunn says, hello from the once like-minded Alberta. Not sure what that one means. Once like-minded?
Well, let's just keep going in the comments and see if it
Glenn Gunn
explains
says,
itself.
I thought Smid would toe the line. She turned on the true Albertans. Medicine hat, her writing wouldn't be happy. Or won't be happy.
I don't think too many people are going to be happy with old Smitty in Alberta there.
And Glenn Gunn also says, by the way, we finally got sun today. It was a beautiful day off.
Yeah.
Great. Finally. Finally, it helps things dry and grow as well. And Michael Drader, hello, says, let's get to 100 likes for a membership handout. Support our honorary Mexican. Thank you so much. And yes, we're always trying to get to 100 likes during the stream. So hit that like button. I'll continue to try and remind people as we go.
Well, and I will say the opposition of Alberta independence right now is just flailing around. Again, Danielle Smith is the best on that side, but they're eating their own and they're trying to push her out of the Federalist side. I think that's a bad move by them, which is good for us. When we get into Alberta Politics, we're going to literally show Carney, Doug Ford, Pierre Poilievre, and they don't know what script to stick to there.
And hold on, Glenn Gunn's, where is it? Glenn Gunn says, I'm going to move right now or I'd match you. Give me a month. And again, anybody that does want to support us, get a membership, hand out memberships or send us a super chat, only do so if you're able to. Please never feel obligated to do so. That is why we try to read as many comments as we can because we've been, and we could currently kind of are still in that position as well. But we are very, very grateful to everybody that is able to and has supported us.
Well, yeah. And thank you to everybody that has super chatted us and bought memberships and things like that. It's helped us upgrade some of our equipment. Yes. Supposedly it's arriving on Sunday. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. Michael, things keep jumping around. Michael Drader says, all good. Hope the move goes smooth. And same here. Please be safe. William Babel says, buenas tardes, Nat y Guy. Good evening and thank you for being here. Stephen Jensen says, welcome everyone. GTSY. GTSY? I'm not sure what that means. Thomas Mew says, good afternoon from Hillbilly Hill, Alberta. Freedom Peoples, good afternoon. And thank you for being here. Troglodyte says, hello, freedom lovers. Hello, Troglodyte. Thank you for being here. And that's about it.
Yeah, let's get right into breaking news. Sorry if you hear a ringing in the background there.
Yes.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Extra, extra, read all about it.
And starting with, I'll try to talk louder. National News Watch says, quote, Carney's Liberals hit record high 50% support, according to a poll. First for a governing party in 23 years.
Yeah, I don't think this is because of their popularity. I think it's because conservatives on a national scale are losing hope and moving to the United States. We see the statistics from last year. Literally over 200,000 individuals fled the country, mainly to the United States and Mexico. We're a couple of those people. We left a few years ago. There is no hope in most of the other country. We lived in British Columbia. Alberta has that hope, has that critical mass of individuals. And this is why I think so many people are pushing towards Alberta independence right now. There's a possibility and a light at the end of the tunnel, not from a politician, but from the citizens themselves.
And with things like this, polls, or when they come out with, oh, there's X amount of support for the Liberals, or, oh, this is actually happening, or this is not happening with the Alberta independence movement, for example, it is all to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're trying to pretend like this is or isn't happening, so people think so and start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I disagree with this particular poll. I actually agree with that poll. I disagree with you on this one just because I know personally massive amounts of conservatives that have already left Canada. And when Mark Carney got a majority, there must have been another huge influx of those people moving to the United States.
But I mean, by posting it and publicizing it and saying, oh, it's the highest it's ever been in 23 years, that might help them, used to help them make it into a self-perpetuating prophecy. Next.
No, we're going to go into the real Steven Jensen there.
Oh, sorry. Well, I didn't know you were tapping the table. Steven Jensen, thank you so much for the $5 super
Thank
chat
you.
saying Mitch Sylvester coming on the French tonight. Yes, on the Unacceptable French tonight, Mitch Sylvester will be there. And I'll be very interested to know about the conversation and what they ask him and how things are going as well. Says this could be interesting and perhaps controversial.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that controversial. I think the French has come back around and welcome both Mitch and Rath to a certain degree back into the overall strategy. We definitely need Mitch working to take over the UCP now, especially with a lot of the new legislation they put in there. The UCP has the ultimate say, even if we get a binding referendum and that binding referendum is successful. There's still one more hurdle, and they added it in, and that is the UCP has to approve it. That means we have to take over the UCP. We have to have a leadership review at some point, probably after the October 19th referendum. I'm glad you mentioned that because we did mention it on our morning show. I kind of forgot about it again. We're definitely watching it. So we will be done before the Fringe at 7, so everybody can go right over there and watch that Mitch Sylvester interview.
We'll make sure of it. But also, Steven Jensen, hope you're doing well. Again, we are thinking about you, your truck, everything else, and thank you so much for reaching out too.
Well, your truck looked bad, but it looked a lot better than the other guys. I'll tell you that.
Again, hopefully everything starts going smooth with that. But now, what I thought you wanted me to do. From Marty Up North says, quote, Danielle Smith is in Quebec, supposedly trying to build bridges, while Carney just announced he's sending another $11 billion to that province. Something seems off. Why do I get the feeling we're about to get royally screwed again?
Yeah, something seems off to me as well, because who's getting all the remittance payments? Quebec already is. And now why is there another $11 billion on top of that to build infrastructure for Quebec? Well, Alberta continues to get the short end of the stick. I honestly don't think this is going to anger Danielle Smith in any way. I think this is a move for federalization between Alberta and Quebec. And we've also seen the other puzzle piece of federalization, which was British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. We've seen that little get together. It seems like Danielle Smith is getting real cozy with all her Federalist friends lately.
Mm-hmm. And again, we've been talking about trying to make the independence conversation a more national conversation. And it seems like they're trying to do the exact same, but in the opposite direction by allying and showing this alliance between, everybody's real good friends. Everybody's trying to support each other and support Alberta because poor Alberta, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's not that they're even good friends. They're going to pitch federalization as the savior of Canada, of this is the game plan. This is how we save Canada. Canada has natural resources. All we have to do is access them. But what they're going to talk about is on a federal level and link these things interprovincially. I think each province needs to be strong on its own. I don't like the fact that Alberta has linked all of its natural resources, number one, to other provinces and then signed up to an MOU for the federal government. It should be building direct pipelines from Alberta to the United States, cut the federal government completely out of it.
And lastly, I'm guessing in this little puzzle piece, the National Post says, quote, newly elected BC Conservative leader Carrie Lynn Findlay says she'd maintain economic relations with an independent Alberta.
Yeah, and I give Carrie Lynn Findlay a very hard time. I give the Conservatives a hard time in British Columbia as well, because that's where I came from. And I understand the skin suit politics that they play. They say one thing when they need to get elected. Then when they get in there, they do their land acknowledgements and everything else. I'm a huge fan of Dallas Brody in British Columbia. That's the only shining light I see in that province. I say it quite a bit. That being said, I do like this statement, especially when it comes to Alberta independence, because we can use this. We can use this for our advantage, saying, even if we get our independence, British Columbia wants to continue to cooperate. That means we don't have to play potentially the hardball that we thought we were going to have to play with British Columbia. We can keep the oil flowing and keep the money coming into Alberta.
True. And all we have to do is just get rid of David Eeyore. And then we'll be fine.
I think David Eby's going to be getting rid of himself. That being said, I don't think the Conservative Party within British Columbia, I think it's going to be more of controlled opposition than actual radical change that British Columbia needs. British Columbia needs some of the most radical change of any province because it's so far left and because the Chinese government has its hooks so deep into it on a political level, but also a business and a local level.
Now we'll go to your comments, but first of all, let's go to Steven Jensen. Thank you so much again for the $5 super chat. Says the UCP just officially announced their AGM today. That is going to be interesting to see. Already bought my ticket to the quote unquote biggest show in Canada.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely massive there.
Mm-hmm. And again, I mean, the discussions and what might happen with Danielle Smith might all be I mean, we'll all be there.
She's
so.
going to be trying to consolidate power between now and her leadership review, which is probably going to be sometime after October. Now, I know Jeff Rath has a much more harder edge that he wants a leadership review immediately. That being said, I don't know if we can take Danielle Smith out right now. And if we take the run outer and we miss, I don't know if it's going to be possible to take her out at that point. We want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row when we do that. And we also need to focus on independence. But that's why I'm going to be very interested to see what Mitch Sylvester does say on the Fringe tonight, because he is the one that has taken up this long-term project of telling everybody to buy memberships so we can take over the UCP. And now we can see how important that strategy has become.
But also interesting that they're announcing it today and while she's in Quebec, or just doing her little Quebec run. So.
Well, again, that's why it's going to be very interesting to see what Mitch Sylvester says on the Fringe tonight about this specific topic.
Lyle Norman says, how does Danny come up with 400 billion? She's on substances, I have to say still.
Well, it was very interesting because there's been so much pushback against it. She said she's going to show the research in a couple months because she has people working on it, meaning she spit out the number without having the research. Now she's going to try to get some economists to make up the figures to total 400 billion. There was somebody else that went through Grok and tried to do it every single way. And Grok kept coming up with a number between 10 and 15 billion. And they kept trying to rearrange it to up the number, and it wouldn't go above 15 billion.
Glenn Gunn asks, it says Danny took the wrong color pill. Michael Drader says, sure, the 400 billion for those substances, I'm sure. Stephen Jansen again.
Well, if you're doing carny economy and it costs $195,000 for 3 meals on a plane, I guess maybe you could get to 400 billion. But if you're using realist common sense economy or realist common sense statistics, I think you're going to get to around 500 billion. And that's what the APP came up with. Grok came up with about 10 billion. So somewhere in that range, I think is fair.
Thank you so much, Stephen Jensen, again for the $2 super chat saying UCP is October 27th, 1 week after the referendum.
Yeah.
Maybe strategically so, I will say.
But again, we need somebody like Mitch Sylvester working on all the moving parts we need for that meeting at that time.
Oh, and Stephen Jensen says GTSY is good to see ya. Oh, okay. I don't know the new kid lingo. I'm an old person.
Although we do work online a lot, so we should probably know the little abbreviations.
I'm online. I don't look at the online. Michael Drader says, Mitch, being controversial, get out of here. And Todd says, my free support Alberta independence, I support Alberta independence t-shirt came today with 10 reasons Alberta benefits on the back from the Fringe, or an acceptable Fringe.
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
And also being able to be that visible, I think, is also a good thing.
And not just be visible with Alberta independence on a shirt, but actual reasons of why we need independence is absolutely fantastic.
Glenn Gunn says, Mitch can't take over the UCP, but he can support a certain candidate. And Glenn Gunn says, ask the right questions, Fringe, or Derek. Lyle Norman says, Mitch was on with Rachel Parker. Yes, David's wife. Mitch is still pissed, but he's leveled now. Mitch is smart and will find ways for independence.
Yeah, I was watching just the very beginning of Rachel Parker. For some reason, I had never seen her before, but I subscribed to the channel so I can watch her in the future now.
And, Justin GP, hello, says, well, hello, all you fine folks. Thank you for being here. And also says she's using the 400 billion to advocate against Alberta independence when she was supposed to stay neutral. Exactly.
And she's going to use every trick in the book to do that. And she's going to have other premiers using money and resources to push this Canada Proud, Canada United in every single province across the country. And that's why we need other citizens in other provinces, probably most likely through content creators, to actually voice their discontent and show the downfall of Canada. This is not just about people that support Alberta independence. We need a national drive to put the federal government and their campaign about Canadian unity on its back foot. The best way to do that are conservative content creators that are discontented with Canada in general.
Joseph Chan says, the AGM, where so-called conservatives eat each other. And Stephen Jensen says, you're not old, you're my kid's age. Well, I don't know how old your kids are, but I'm older than I look, let's just say that. Hold on, I saw one that I wanted to read, and now I can't find it again.
Older than she looks, and a lot younger than me.
There you go. Unacceptable French. Derek says, commentator, agitator, instigator. I am unacceptable. Mitch is in the hot seat. Kidding. Should be a good show. Thanks for the shout out. And again, Derek, Unacceptable French will have Mitch Sylvester on tonight. And I agree with Going Gun. Ask the right questions for him.
Well, and I absolutely appreciate the Fringe actually having Mitch on.
Yeah.
I think it's something that, number one, needed to happen. And if that invitation is still open from Danielle Smith, I doubt it at this point. She's like a hardened federalist at this point, and she's making sure everybody within the UCP takes the same line as her. There's no room for dissent anymore. It's the same line Pierre took. But if that invitation is still open from Danielle's camp, I would love to see her on the Fringe, because I think the Unacceptable Fringe and Derek is going to ask the right questions there.
And David Elbert Carlson says, howdy from Parkland County. County? Yes, County. Thank you for being here as well. Okay, now let me get this one off and let's go to Alberta Stay Free.
Yeah.
Sweet home Alberta, where the roots run deep and the money trees grow.
And let's start with from John Tompkinson says, quote, Alberta needs its own trade agreements with the US and Mexico. Canada has already been excluded. BNN Bloomberg says US excludes Canada from trade talks with Mexico. Finally.
Well, and I had high hopes for Danielle Smith at one point. People know I was a defender of her. I am no longer a defender of her. I want a leadership review as soon as we're done with October 19th, because I was originally saying, man, Alberta could get a deal directly with Trump that favors Alberta, because they didn't put or take the liquor off the shelves or do a lot of the things that other provinces did. I would have liked to see Danielle Smith go directly to Trump, and we know she was trying to build that relationship. That being said, I think the only way for a really good deal for Alberta with the United States is going to be through independence. And I think Trump's going to appreciate that. And he's going to want to exemplify what kind of relationship can be built if you're on the same page with the United States and the plan for bringing up the Western Hemisphere in general.
And thank you so much to Unacceptable French, to Derek, saying, guys, support him, the guy that's talk about their show. Thank you so much. And says, I'll talk about French on French. Love the love, but let's focus on this show. And thank you so much. And again, it means a lot coming from such a big channel like yours and from yourself. And again, we've also been big admirers and always watch your show after hours. And you inspired us as well to start talking in the way we do in certain things too as well.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I'm
thank
glad.
you so much. I almost choked. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to see there's a lot of cross-pollination between channels now. It's really going to help Alberta independence coming into the summertime and into that October 19th referendum, as well as after. Now that the timeline has been extended a little bit, that gives us time to bring up our channels and make them a lot louder so we can push back against the mainstream media. We're talking about billions of dollars going against a few dozen small content creators and a few big ones like The Fringe, which we are really appreciative to have a voice like that, because it is the largest voice in Alberta independence right now.
Yes. And, well, just because it's relevant, also says just DPMT, again with the acronyms that I don't understand from you young people. Just DPMT, want to feel like I'm talking over your show chat. Keep up the great work, guys. But thank you for being here. And also thank you for coming and watching this as well.
Yeah.
We're honored.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
Okay, moving on.
continue to go here.
So we were talking about this. Do you want me to move from
Yeah, and Mexico has really played this thing amazingly. I was shocked because we used to do a lot of international politics, and I was constantly talking about the Mexico trade deal, and she's a far-left ideologue. I didn't think she was going to do a complete about-face. She was hand-in-hand with China. She brought over all the car manufacturing. They had everything built. They were, a matter of fact, building massive depots for Temu and other places to start distributing directly out of Mexico into the United States.
Well, that was her predecessor. That started that.
And other places in Central and South America. And she's completely started to push that out, put massive tariffs on China, cooperated with the U.S. militarily as well as economically. She's making that sweeping kind of deal that's going to have big benefits, rather than Mark Carney trying to do tit for tat. What am I going to give you and what are you going to give me? Well, Trump's going to say, I want that, and that. And all of that is from Western Canada because it's the natural resources. All your manufacturing on the East East Coast, we're just going to take and they're going to relocate to the United States.
And Mark Carney is a tid, but I think part of it might be, and I know you don't like when I mention it, but a lot of it, the cooperation we're seeing from Mexico is because of how much things the U.S. can lord over them and how much essentially blackmail the U.S. has on the current administration and their entire party. They're already making arrests and they'll continue to do so. And we know that she's backed into a corner. But at the same time, all those moves are actually being very beneficial to Mexico, and not just Mexico, but the entire southern part from the United States downwards, especially because of the things like the Shield of the Americas.
Yeah, I disagree for the simple fact that there's a lot of leverage over Carney right now, and he just seems driven to drive Canada into the ground. I thought he would be smart enough to realize it's your biggest trading partner. Every single province trades more with the United States than it does interprovincially. Yet he's going to drive Canada into the ground rather than open his eyes.
But again, that might be managed decline and purposeful. We did see what he did in the UK right before Brexit. We do know how it ended up turning out anyways, because they didn't fully change after and during the opportunity they had with Brexit and the kind of actions he was doing anyways. And they're very similar to what's happening in Canada. But also from Rise of Alberta says, quote, Jason Kenney, Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper, Conservative MPs, what do they all have in common? They are part of the Conservative establishment and they know exactly what Alberta independence means. It means that the CPC's or Conservative Party of Canada's path to power in Ottawa becomes slim to none. Alberta independence would be a disaster for the Conservative Party, but it would be a massive opportunity for Albertans. We would control our own government, elect leaders who actually represent our interests and values, and unlock the full power of our $9 trillion in resource wealth. So when the Conservative establishment figures come out against Alberta independence, understand what's really happening. They're protecting their future in Ottawa, not yours.
Go back to the top there and let's read those names again. Jason Kenney, Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper. We can add Danielle Smith on there. These are promises made for almost 2 decades now that they have not been able to deliver on, even when the Conservatives were in power with Stephen Harper. What did you deliver? More federalization and less benefits for the actual people within Alberta. And what we're seeing now, I believe, is federalization on a much more massive scale. When we go into Alberta politics today, we're going to profile a lot of politicians that are really flailing in the wind because they don't know how to go against Alberta independence. This is a citizen-led movement that's actually going to deliver on the promises politicians have made for decades. We're done with politicians. It's time to make the change ourselves as citizens.
And also that is why they're so scared of the Alberta independence. And I think why they took maybe an even, I would say, in some ways, harsher stance against Alberta independence than even the crazy progressive liberal cookies that are worried about other things other than Alberta independence, because they know that they haven't been able to deliver. They continue to just be able to make promises. And now with the Carney majority, it's even worse. And with the technical recession, actual recession that Canada is going through and that was announced, that also hinders them, because how are you going to try to convince people to stay in Alberta, to stay in Canada, if now you're also having to deal with criticizing your opposition and the current leader that has all the power because you allowed so many floor crossers and because people have lost so much hope in you that every time you open your mouth, nobody really believes you.
Yeah, I'm going to say one more thing. We're going to need to go hard at Stephen Harper. There's this romanticized ideal of who Stephen Harper is amongst conservatives within Alberta and nationally about what he did, and that he's the best premier that we've had in modern times. This is ridiculous. We need to point out all the flaws and just go hard. We have to take the gloves off. And this is the point when I was saying there's going to come a point where we have to take the gloves off. This is going to be on Danielle Smith, Stephen Harper, and Pierre Poilievre. All three are beloved by national conservatives. We're going to have to show them what Alberta independence is about. And what it's about is citizens making the change, no longer trusting in politicians.
Mm-hmm. And it's not about upholding those politicians and just putting all your trust and hope in them, because they've clearly shown they don't care about it. And lastly, from CTV News in Calgary, says, quote, installation market at South Centre Mall for National Indigenous History Month.
Okay, and I put this up here because we've been reporting a ton about Pride Month. So I'm sure Pride Month's in June, I think. So I checked. Sure enough, it's in June. I said, when's Indigenous History Month?
June?
June as well. And then I said, What other holidays are in June? Well, June used to be, there's only one holiday in June. It's not even a nationally recognized holiday, but that was Father's Day. It's like they wanted to erase fathers across Canada by making it Indigenous History Month, by making it Pride Month and everything else. Let's make June Father's Day again. And that could be a great slogan for Alberta independence.
True. Remembering Father's Day, remembering fathers and the importance of them, including of masculinity,
And we don't
which
need
is
to,
not toxic.
And we don't need to make it a month. A day is perfectly fine.
Exactly. We're just fine with a day. Okay, we'll go to your comments and then into Alberta politics. Glenn Gunn says, never thought of this, but what a great idea. Announce Freedom Alberta tune, stand up and do a little dance, let the tune carry on. I bet we all get up just thinking. And Justin GP says,
And one more thing, we do need an anthem. And on the morning show, I talked about an AI anthem that Restore Alberta had through Rupert Lowe. It was
Restore Britain.
Restore Britain, sorry. It was it's an absolutely amazing little thing they did with AI, and I think it hits all the right notes and also has a call for action for young men. But also, oh God, why is it he's slipping my mind again?
Rupert Lowe?
No, the rapper from
Tom McDonald.
Yeah, Tom McDonald would also be an absolute great asset to have him write an anthem for Alberta independence. I would guess he's right in line with all of our values for Alberta independence, and he's from Edmonton, so I don't think it's that far-fetched to think we can get him to maybe write a song or something like that. Both options would be fantastic for an anthem, though.
Todd says, stop federalization over natural resources. They belong to Albertans. And also, Albertans are the ones who work them. So
we need to start this messaging, not just in Alberta, but Saskatchewan and other places, because if this federalization does come and they've lengthened out the timeline until the second referendum, they're very likely to be able to successfully pitch the federalization of natural resources as a good thing to national conservatives and conservatives inside of Alberta.
Stephen Jensen says, Comrade Fringe is looking after the greater independence community. Free rubles for everyone. Because again, Russia, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, where were we? Glenn Gunn says, problem with China in the oil field because they have tried and still will try. They will not hire Canadians.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things you have to do, get rid of China.
And I've worked both in oil as well as mining. They completely own the mining industry in Canada, and Canada actually completely owns the mining industry in general. At one point, 70% of the mining companies were based out of Canada, and almost all those were bought by China, and it's just really a shell Canadian company that's there, and they've managed to put lobbyists to the federal government to change a lot of the lobbying laws to bring in cheaper Chinese workers and push out miners as well. They're trying to do the exact same thing within the oil industry. They're successful because it's a long-term strategy where they just want to move forward just a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more. 10 years later, what do you have? You don't have Canadian workers benefiting from these industries anymore.
Michael Drader says, a good start, 24 likes, 76 to go. Hit the like button, don't forget. Thank you so much, Michael Drader. And Todd says, got 2 straight Pride window flags for my pickup yesterday at Coolshit Wholesale in Red Deer. Fly, I'm high and proud, along with the Alberta Independence one, of course.
Oh, fantastic.
Hold on. Let me read a few more. Glenn Gunn says, way to go, guy. Not sure about what. A 2.0 says, Daniel Smith says our number if we all buy a UCP membership. Says our number if we'd all buy a UCP membership.
Oh, I don't understand that comment there.
I didn't need. Charlotte says,
maybe that's the 400. If we all buy a UCP membership, maybe it's going to be the 400 billion number she's pitching to everybody.
Charlotte says, Carney's ego is massive. What a prick. Yes. Somebody.
He's been looking a little bit humbled with this 51st state talk again. He really won't say Canada won't be the 51st state now. Doug Ford has said it, but Carney won't say it again.
Somebody says Marxist carnage has one purpose, to manage the decline, destruction of Canada. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying.
Decline, destruction, and then consolidation of power and natural resources, and then the rebuilding in a communist vision, much like what China is, but it will be Western communism.
Mm-hmm. But now let's go into Alberta politics.
He doesn't discuss federal politics. He only concerns himself with Alberta's independence.
And again, today I kind of wanted to profile 3 major politicians within Canada. One of the clips we've already played on here, and that's Polyov's clip, but these are all fairly recent clips, and it just shows they're flailing in the wind right now. They have so many problems of their own, and when they talk about Alberta independence, they stutter, they mutter, and they don't know how to address the issue.
Tokyo Rosie says, quote, the amount of BS required to blame the recession on anything other than Liberal Party policy became so heavy that Mark Carney was actually out of breath here.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not recognize, but he again blames it on immigration and the fact that he had to cut immigration back, which isn't the case. He's just rearranging the numbers on how they're tallying up new immigrants. That's number one. But this is the second time he's given a statement saying, oh, the economy's doing poorly because we need more immigrants.
No, we're in the process, this government's been in the process of laying the foundations for a stronger, more resilient, more independent Canadian economy. That process is settling in during that time as we make major investments, major changes to how the government operates, how we do major projects, how we have new trade agreements with other countries. It's always difficult. Yeah, I should always remember to go up the stairs more slowly or get in better shape. As we do all that, the data is going to be uneven. And, we see some weakness, in part because of clear decisions by the government. So we have taken back control of immigration. That's meant the population growth has flattened. In fact, it's slowed, or it's been negative for the last 2 quarters.
And you see, he looks at that as a negative and that the solution is to pump immigration back up. And that's exactly what he's planning to do. He's only stalled it. He hasn't reversed it in any way, shape, or form. And the policies he's created will actually open up the floodgates in 2027, 2028, once he thinks he's going to be safe from any Trump repercussions.
We have reined in government spending. So it had been growing close to 10%. It's growing less than 2% now. So that's also something that weighs on. There's some other choppiness in terms of how investment is happening. But we're also seeing at the same time the foundations coming into place, settling in for that stronger, more resilient economy. So, for example, if you look at business investment, particularly in machinery and equipment, in R&D, in intellectual property, that's actually up quite sharply in the last couple of quarters, including the most recent quarter. If you look at household incomes, they are now growing strongly. They continue to grow faster than the rate of inflation. There's more to be done without question, but they're moving in the right direction. So you have these cross currents as the economy is being fundamentally transformed. We're going to continue to work. We're making progress, but there's more to be done.
Cross currents, my freaking
Oh,
ass.
just wait. It's coming. Just wait. Don't ask me. Just wait. You'll see. You'll see.
Well, and I'll also say this. I mean, he has so many problems of his own. How is he going to pitch Canada Unity, Canada Strong in Alberta when the Canadian economy is absolutely failing and there's no way to kind of U-turn it? It's just the beginning. The USMCA is about to start failing. I don't think Trump is going to cancel it, but he's going to put it up for yearly review, which is going to cause the business community to be inconfident and the manufacturing community to relocate to the United States. The only industry that will stay strong in Canada is the natural resource sector, but with the amount of regulations, it's going to be almost impossible to get private investments. And I think that's the point. He wants the federal government to start financing these natural resource projects.
And move to the United States, but more than they already have been moving to the United States. It's not like a lot of companies still remain within Canada and haven't been leaving in droves already.
Well, and we used to talk a lot about global politics. And a couple of years ago, I was following very closely the hollowing out of the manufacturing sector within Europe. And what caused that was massive energy prices being upped. So anytime energy prices are extremely high in a country, you see manufacturing start to be depressed. And when it's extremely, extremely high, they'll actually move their headquarters. Most of Europe has moved a lot of its manufacturing already to the United States. I think Canada is starting to do the same, not just because of the regulations, but also because of the cost of energy.
But now let's look at what Dougie has to say, because everybody cares so much about what he says. Doug Ford says, quote, I can't believe I have to say this again, but Canada will never be the 51st state. Canada is not for sale. While I'm at it, here's the truth. In April, Ontario created 680% more jobs than the U.S. adjusted for population. That's how we protect Ontario.
Well, it used to be just Trump saying the 51st state. Now it's the gentleman in charge of trade relations with Canada saying 51st state as well. And it used to be every Canadian politician would stand up in unison and say, we'll never be the 51st state. This time, it's literally only Doug Ford by himself. Mark Carney was asked directly multiple times about the 51st state comment. He would not even mention the words 51st state, and he would not talk bad about Trump. He's absolutely desperate. He's in the weakest position he's been in since the beginning of when these trade talks came up about the USMCA. How do you think that's going to go for Canada now? It's going to go great for Alberta independence, but horrible for the rest of Canada.
And again, as I was saying during the morning show, I mean, it might be that Alberta becomes its own independent, fruitful nation, and then Canada, the rest of it, becomes the 51st state because of how badly things will turn and things will be managed.
I don't think there's any way for Canada to become
No,
the
of course
51st state, because even with economic collapse in Canada, at best, you have Mark Carney begging to be a territory at that point. I mean, this is why Alberta needs to separate from the rest of Canada so it can keep a strong position and become its own strong independent nation.
But also this week, we've seen Pierre Poilievre come out and comment about what he plans to do to make Alberta stay in Canada, and that is suffocate it, apparently.
I really thought this was the clip of the week. I just thought it was absolutely moronic and childish the way he said, Alberta needs a hug. Let's hug Alberta and let them know that they're wanted. No, we want change. We want a real concrete foundation that, again, we showed all the conservative politicians lining up against Alberta independence, from Harper to Poilievre to Danielle Smith. You guys haven't delivered for decades. We can go all the way back to the beginning of Harper and the promises that were made. You have not delivered. Alberta independence is led by the citizens, and the citizens are ready to make the change for themselves now.
And because they haven't delivered is why they feel so attacked by Alberta independence and threatened by Alberta's independence. But Kirk Lubimov says,
Oh, we can go right into the clip here.
I know, but that is what Pierre Poilievre is coming to campaign on.
We will be back in my home province of Alberta to campaign for a united country. And our message is that all of Canada needs to wrap its arms around Alberta. Let's ensure that every Albertan knows that Canada loves Alberta, that Canada is Alberta, Alberta is Canada. We need to have a strong, united nation. We will be back
I don't know if he's a used car salesman. One moment, please.
And again, I mean, it is really ironic and funny that the way he says it, I mean, at first he said a hug, but then the way he finished it off, that sounds bad, but the way he finished off by saying, oh, we need to wrap our arms around Alberta, like the federal government and the rest of the provinces, at least Quebec, have been doing for the longest time, by suffocating Alberta and not letting it be productive and useful and be able to enjoy the fruits of its own labor, having to go to the socialistic equalization payments that continue to happen in Canada. I mean, in that way, he was kind of correct.
Well, I didn't know if he was a, oh God, now I forgot what I was going to
He
say.
almost dropped a lamp, he tripped, a bunch of things happened in the background.
I didn't know if he was a cheap used car salesman or a cheap motivational speaker there, but I think if he comes to Alberta, he's going to be looking to end his political career, at least as the major oppositional leader. Doug Ford and Jason Kenney already have knives out with their campaign manager, ready to put a hit job on him and try to get a leadership review done there. If that happens, maybe you see a Kenney or a Doug Ford temporarily take his place until Danielle Smith, I think, moves into that position ultimately. And I think that's why she's so firmly on the side of the nationalists now. She has her eyes on Ottawa. I'm out of breath.
Mark Carney went up some stairs. You went up a few steps over there, and now you're out of breath.
Mark Carney's in better shape than I am, I guess. God, that's pathetic.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. Todd says they'll start hiring Albertans again when they can't get the job done right when we're independent. Yes.
Yeah, the only way
Just hire Albertans.
The only way to make sure Albertan citizens are put first and not mass immigration or immigrants is going to be Alberta independence. We recently profiled Japan. Japan had the hardest stance on mass immigration, and that's what she ran on. And all the headlines were she was fixing it. And then when I dug into it, she's done completely the opposite, absolutely flooding Japan with almost 1 million immigrants this year. If Japan's not going to do it, and that's one of the hardest conservative leaders, they're going to say they're doing something, but behind the scenes, they're continuously flooding countries with mass immigration because they don't know how to keep their GDP up. We have a real problem.
Justin JP says, had an interview with a Chinese-owned oil and gas company, and they asked if I had a pew-pew license. I was expected to carry one, and the excuse was for grizzly bears, I guess. Justin JP continues, was right in the offer letter, but they couldn't pay me enough, so I declined.
Well,
Interesting.
It's good you're not having to work for a Chinese company, I guess.
Yes. Justin B also says, yes, but usually only black bears. The grizzlies are usually in mountainous areas, but they seem to be spreading. But I'm sure that wasn't just why they wanted me to carry one either. Glenn Gunn says, I give it 1 year before the whole of Canada's elite workers do a convoy like you have never seen. Hopefully. And Steven Jensen, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the $5 super chat saying they just don't get it. We don't want what they're selling anymore. System is broken, corrupt, not structured fairly for a country as big as ours. And because they want to continue to play within that same playground, within that same sandbox of that same system that is corrupt and it's not structured fairly, and yet they want to continue to tell all Albertans that they should stay within that system as well because it benefits them, and it might give them power someday.
Well, as individuals, it's hard to say yes or no when there's job offers and things like that. But once Alberta is an independent nation, we need to get Chinese investment out of Alberta. We need nations that are aligned with our core values, with freedom of speech, with basic freedoms.
You're like 3 chats behind. Steven Jensen was saying that they don't get it like Pierre, Danielle, the conservative politicians that are campaigning for Alberta to stay.
Yeah.
Okay. you replied to another.
I'm still out of breath from taking care of the dog there.
Silverfeet says, we took back control of immigration from who? Yeah, good question. Jason GB says, pretty soon they'll be competing with the Sasquatches. Yep, I said it, Nat. The grizzly bears? Maybe. Don't get him started. Right now, he's kind of dazed and confused, so he didn't get it. It's fine. Justin Jabi says, if Pierre was hugging people, his makeup would get smudged all over your clothes.
Yeah.
The other day, I was wondering, is he wearing makeup when he was in the
definitely
house?
looks like he wears makeup.
Glenn says, is it Bigfoot guy?
I was watching. Never mind. I'll leave it.
What?
Nothing.
Were you going to talk about Bigfoot?
No, I was watching about portals and
good.
the Black Pyramid in Alaska. It was very fascinating last night. That's what I do to decompress there.
Charlie Knight says Harper signed us onto globalist UN agendas, and yeah, a lot of people kind of put him up on a pedestal because of what came after. But he wasn't all sunshine and rainbows during his time.
Yeah,
he wasn't terrible, but
it's up to the citizens to tear these politicians down now. It's time to take off the gloves like it was WrestleMania 13 there.
Yvette DeVoe says, we are musicians and I'm highly opposed to AI music. I'm right there with you. The anthem needs to be composed. Have a contest. It would be awesome. Bring back human creativity.
Yeah,
I agree. I fully agree with you, but
I also think we need something between now and then, and having multiple anthems or multiple songs that come out are important. I took a lot of a long hard look at a lot of AI music. A lot of it is absolute shit, but if you can do it right, it can hit and it can be quick to get out there. Well, we do run that contest, and having multiple songs is not going to hinder us, I believe.
And Charlie Knight says, no jobs, well, we need immigrants. F off carnage. Yeah, I mean, the excuses are getting dumber and dumber at this point.
Well, they want to artificially inflate GDP because that's what's good to governments, but it's bad for citizens to bring in a lot of immigrants because it represses wages and drives prices up in general. What we need is no more immigration, so wages actually raise. It has more of a long-term benefit, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, hold on, Charlie Knight says, PP is a weak man. Yes, he is. With weak face.
People are starting to wake up to this uniparty now. It's becoming very, very obvious.
And especially because of Alberta's independence.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen Jensen says, Harper, thank you so much for the $2 super chat.
Thank
It
you.
says, Harper didn't do anything to fix the West.
No,
exactly. Or to fix many other things as well. I mean, he kind of, during the financial crisis, he just kind of let that whole thing be somebody else's problem. And eventually it did become somebody else's problem, everybody else.
Can somebody answer me this? Why does every freaking politician come out of Alberta or claim Alberta? Stephen Harper, I know he's originally from Ottawa, but he claims Alberta and he lived there for how long? Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, Danielle Smith, all the power players come out of Alberta and then go over to the national stage, or they come to Alberta to get their seat and then go to the national stage.
Okay, but speaking of, let's go to Alberta Personalities.
But they need to understand that Albertans are done, we're leaving, and there's no more conversation to be had. I know that's upsetting to people.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, and this was a great clip that I did get. What were you going to say?
No, I forgot to bring the chat off. Take the chat out. Nadine Wellwood says, quote, Canada's worker program costs 10 times its economic impact. Sell the asset. And Nadine Wellwood is great. We're very happy she interviewed with us as well. If you haven't seen that one, it was very interesting. But yes, exactly. As well. Sorry, I forgot to make it bigger.
Danielle Smith just came out with a statement, a metric that actually the temporary foreign workers program is actually costing Canada 10 times what it is in terms of a positive impact on our economy.
We have to remember they pitch this as this is an economic benefit. We need migrants in. It helps out. It does exactly the opposite. And they don't know what to do now that the cat is out of the bag. They're just going to keep doing what they're doing because they obviously have some alternative agenda they're not going to share with the general public.
It's costing us 10 times. If you had an asset, if you owned an asset, Nadine, you're an investment person. If you had an asset that cost you 10 times to maintain than what it's bringing in, would you keep it? No, I think you tell your client to sell. And so, I mean, but this temporary foreign worker program is one of the surreptitious ways that this government is using to change the character of our country. Danielle Smith just came out with
okay, and you can leave it there. And he's absolutely right, and this needs to stop. And I don't care what kind of short-term benefit it brings in. We need to have hard migration with our immigration laws when we get our own independence.
But again, also originally, the original plan a while ago in the 70s, 80s for the temporary foreign workers program was very different, and the intentions were very different, and it was very clear that it was temporary and that they would make more money in Canada and then they could go back home and spend their money and with their families and make their lives a bit better that way.
But I'll even say this. I mean, that was just the door that opened at that point, and then they just expanded from there. If we have no temporary foreign workers program, that forces Alberta, once we're an independent nation, to actually fix the problem on the ground with the citizens it has, and you're going to be stronger in the long run for it.
And again, it's not like there's that many people missing. And it's not like there's that many people that aren't looking for a job. Maybe they're lacking some certain skills for X or Y specific industries. But if the push is made either by the companies themselves or by some sort of quick program, countrywide in this case when Alberta's independent, then that is doable. It's just that they don't want to do it. They don't want to go about it that way because it's, for them, more expensive, but it's more beneficial for the citizens.
Yeah, don't open the door in the first place and actually fix the problem with the citizens you have, and you'll be better in the long run for it, I believe. Okay.
Do you want to go to comments or Alberta's Canada?
Let's go to some comments, and then we'll go to Alberta's Canada.
Michael Drader says, forget about being unstructured. If Canada was dwelling, it would have the structural integrity of a shanty. Yes. Glenn Gunn says, go guy, that was weird. Watched it. The Black Pyramid thing?
Oh, the Black Pyramid thing. Yeah, it was an older show I watched called Paranormal Roundtable. The guy's a great storyteller, and he just gathers stories and then kind of tells them. But I had not heard much about the Black Pyramid, and it was fantastic.
Glenn Gunn says, Danielle Smith has turned against the democratic sounding of the people that give a hoot. The rest are sheep. Mm-hmm. Michael Drader says to Stephen Jensen, not defending Harper here, but at least didn't stagnate the economy. Prevented it at that point, but then made it even worse because he didn't deal with it at the time either.
No, and just because Harper's better than every other Liberal government that came after him doesn't mean he was necessarily the best. He did a lot of things. He started the mass immigration. He started a lot of federalization for natural resources and things like that. Just the beginning glimpses of it. But he was going at a very slow, moderate pace, so it was okay. But ultimately, I think he was going to head it in the wrong direction if you map that out in a long enough framework. The thing is that when the Liberals got into power, it was just pedal to the metal right off the economic cliff.
Michael Drader says, Guy Harper used to run in a Calgary riding.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen Johnson says, that is true. Don't know if...
Doesn't he still live in Calgary? Somebody was doing an interview, and that's what I heard that they said.
Oh, yeah. Don't remember. But I remember I saw something like that. Satius Maximus says, Pierre Poilievre has a blind spot. He won't deal with the traitor Doug Ford. He won't say out loud that the Liberals hate the U.S. If he can't admit something like that, how can he plan to fix it?
They have him boxed in from all sides right now, and that's the issue. I think it's only a matter of time before a leadership review comes up and they push him out. And it's a shame because he would have been a great leader for Canada, not for Alberta. Alberta needs its independence any which way. But as far as Canada goes, I guess that's the best you're going to kind of get. But knives are out. Doug Ford and Jason Kenney will do the dirty work along with their campaign manager. They'll temporarily take his position, and then Danielle Smith will slide in there like some kind of hero after she federalizes natural resources along with Mark Carney.
And Philip Vespa says, if I were Trump, I would secure that bilateral deal with Mexico and immediately terminate the USMCA.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea because I used to look a lot at U.S. economics and things like that. He can weaken Canada severely just by putting a yearly review on the USMCA, and there would be no negative effects on the U.S. economy. If he does terminate it outright, there will be some negative effects on the U.S. economy quite substantially. So it would be best for him just to put a yearly review on it, and that would hollow out the manufacturing sectors from Canada, bring them to the United States, while still giving Trump access to the natural resource sectors within the West without a tariff. Yeah.
Now I always wait because sometimes you come up with something else right after.
But
Now,
it is really helping them to have this Mexico deal secured, and that they're playing ball and basically doing whatever Trump wants them to do, because a lot of the different manufacturing sectors that are clearing out from Canada aren't necessarily moving to the United States. Trump's telling them to move to Mexico specifically because they don't want low-end manufacturing. They want medium level and high level manufacturing
within the U.S.
Yeah, within the U.S.
Thomas Muse says Harper was put there for a reason. Interesting. And Roland Halleck says need to put the 10 reasons big signs all about all voters. Thomas Muse says there's a big castle in the woods somewhere. And Thomas Muse says if you guys learn about that castle in the woods back east, then you understand lots of things. Interesting.
Sounds like a certain kind of island to me.
Now let's go into Alberta's Canada, and we call it that way because Alberta is the only thing that continues to attempt to hold up Canada. Escape as fast as you can, Alberta.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people.
And starting with from Mark Carney himself says, time to build new roads, homes, hospitals, better, stronger infrastructure across Quebec.
I guess the billions of dollars in remittance payments wasn't enough for them to build it for themselves, but they need more. And Mark Carney this is his own personal account, just bragging about it. Here you go, Quebec. Anything's just don't leave Ottawa. We need your Liberal voter base.
The Gazette says, quote, Carney announces $10 billion for Quebec infrastructure and transit. Infrastructure funding will include housing, universities, and community centers.
God, go figure.
I mean, even in Vancouver.
Where's he getting that $10 billion? He already, it's coming from Alberta, obviously.
But again, we're building bridges. We're trying to construct. We're trying to cooperate between Quebec and Alberta as things like this are announced.
Well, and then Danielle Smith was out there as well, trying to federalize natural resources along with Quebec, because a lot of the pipelines out of Alberta go through Saskatchewan to south of the border, and then where do they wind up? In Quebec.
Next, JJNXer says, April 2025, before Carney was even selected, this woman had inside access to his Davos WEF circle. She was a contrarian voice in the room. She traveled with them. She had a seat at the table when she dropped this. Do you want me to read it? Or
no, and we seen part of this clip the other day, but I found the entire thing, and it was very eye-opening, so I thought I would play the entire clip.
Okay, are Torontonians and Canadians finally waking up to what insiders were saying all along?
That's why I, posted what I did is because, I have inside insights. And right now, U.S. tariffs, that is just not Canada's crisis. Electing Carney will be. He is not telling the truth about the affordability crisis. He's not telling the truth about the climate hoax. And he will shrink the economy. And again, I just point to Germany. Look what the Green Deal has done to Germany, this Davos agenda. And just think about your own freedoms, right? Freedom of speech, freedom to decide, what you want to drive, how you want to heat your house, being able, to work and earn a decent standard of living. And Mark Carney and these Davos elites, and again, I also consider most of the leaders in Europe and the current administration in the UK.
And again, who's Mark Carney trying to attach Canada to? The leaders in the UK as well as the EU. Well, he has a massive economic powerhouse right to his south, but he doesn't like it because Trump's not part of this globalist network.
They're all the same. They all have the same agenda. And you can just look at, there's plenty of economic data to show that this leads to less productivity, lower GDP per capita. It leads to less innovation, less research and development spend, right? Less of a startup culture, and then very scarily, it leads to limits. It is all connected to limits on free speech, on the ability to debate, the ability to disagree, dissent, to protest. Look at Carney's op-ed, in response to the truckers' rebellion. Right? I mean, calling that sedition and debanking people, right? He will promote a central bank digital currency. That is extremely scary. The government has full control on your life and can spit you right out of society. So, I would say first and foremost, for democratic values, do not vote for him if you have any,
Okay, and you can leave it there. And I almost think it's too late for Canada now. And that's why I support independence movements in Canada. Primarily Alberta, obviously, because it has the largest critical mass of individuals that are actually awake and have their eyes open and will vote for independence. But Saskatchewan, Quebec, I don't care who it is, it's time to get out of Canada before it's actually too late here. And the too late is quickly approaching.
Every day more so. But
the real Stephen Jensen. Thank you. I appreciate it.
oh, hold on. Oh, there.
Confused.
Well, it hadn't popped up for me. Sorry, Stephen Jensen. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat saying, Corey Morgan just posted YouTube that the Federalists are trying to cancel our billboard campaign promoting a referendum, vote for independence.
Oh, wow. And I actually had that pegged for tomorrow. Not that story, but to kind of show off Corey Morgan's billboard campaign, his yard sign campaign. He's been doing a fantastic job. The fact that they're going after him already is absolutely just despicable. And we'll get into that tomorrow, I guess. I'll have to look for that story.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I thought Corey Morgan's been doing a fantastic job, but that's absolutely unbelievable. They're coming after him.
Sounded like you said fantastic. They're coming after him. But thank you so much, Stephen Jensen, for the $5 super chat. And I mean, of course, it was expected. And I'm just wondering what the mechanism they're going through is.
Well, and yeah, it seems like Corey Morgan's been doing everything above board, and he knows the ins and outs of that system. Jason Levine was actually helping him. I watched an interview with them today as well. Corey Morgan has a new set for his show on Western Standard, so that's fantastic. But, oh God, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, what was an interesting thing that came up in Jason Levine's interview with Corey Morgan is I didn't realize Corey Morgan has been one of the prominent people within Alberta independence since he was 29 years old. And he's been doing this for decades now.
And again, Alberta independence it's not a new thing. It's been happening since about 90-something years ago, since they tried to create Alberta. But okay, now let's go to lastly from David Eby or Eeyore says, quote, with Donald Trump once again threatening Canada's independence today, the last thing we need is the new leader of the BC Conservatives auditioning to be a MAGA regional manager here in British Columbia.
And MAGA is always bad, and they use it as like a four-letter word, but it's supposed to be Make America Great Again. I guess it's because no liberal politician or most conservative politicians couldn't imagine making Canada great again or actually putting Canada first above every other country.
From my perspective, the job that she's applying for right now looks a lot more like mega regional manager than Premier of British Columbia. But I'll stay tuned and hear what her plans are.
That's all they got?
He really thought he did something there, which he really did.
Everybody's so past those talking points. And Mark Carney, he's got no backup with that anymore because they're trying to get a deal with Trump and they want to back off of that rhetoric. I'm sure he's going to get a phone call sometime in the next few days.
And again, Mark Carney himself says he wants to make America great again. So I guess Mark Carney is also turning MAGA. Hold on. Michael Drader says the blueprints for Keystone XL and the Trans Mountain pipelines were during the Harper era. And let's see how that ended up as well. Glenn Gunn says, how do you sit and smile with that mouse? Then say we have a great deal, knowing that you won't get zip under the mouse's rules. Because you have to. Ghost of a Chance says, Danielle stuck us between a rock and a hard place with no cell phone, water, or an emergency plan. Or maybe just fully on purpose, doing what's more convenient for her and her political career rather than her constituents. I mean, that would be another option I would put on the table. Glenn Gunn says, I'll get my name in the game next month, Stephen. Gunn, Alberta is strong. Yes. And Todd says, I'm MAGA, make Alberta great again. Proud MAGA.
Oh, you know what I wanted to actually bring up was you keep saying you like honey on your pizza. But I
Yes.
always eat I eat tacos like 3 times a day.
Yes. The only thing he eats.
I put honey on my taco today. It was phenomenal.
I'm telling everybody. Yes, do it. Why did you put honey on your taco?
Well,
that sounds bad in a way.
The honey was just sitting on the counter, and I was like, oh, maybe this would be good on the taco, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with hot sauce.
Okay.
You can actually, I mean, there's hot honey too. That's a thing. And it's not hard to make, but they sell it and it's more expensive than if you just make it yourself.
The honey's hot because the taco's hot, so I just put it on the taco.
No, hot honey isn't spicy.
Okay, let's move on here.
You can make sriracha with honey and it's good. Roland Halleck says, both the big hospitals have foreign nurses, very, very few Canadian ones. And I mean, you should see Vancouver. Yvette DeVoe says, isn't it interesting how Danny changed after getting her clearance?
Yeah,
That's a good point to bring up.
And
as
I
well.
keep seeing these interviews pop up of, it couldn't have been that old. She was talking about, we have a population of almost 5 million and we want to increase that to 10 million. And now she's asking referendum questions to go the other way. I think she's trying to delay things. I think she's in the pocket of a lot of corporations. Corporations in the United States, this was the original reason mass immigration was allowed in, was because corporations would line politicians' pockets. I think Danielle Smith wants to do the same in Alberta, even if she's trying to have referendum questions not to. What are you doing with your eyes there?
Sorry, my contact was stuck. B. Karwandi says, I just don't understand why she's going communist. I thought she was smarter than a libtard. Why did they offer? What did they offer her is what I want to know.
Well, she thought she could pitch it in a conservative way where nobody would notice, but Albertan voters are way too smart. They're actually the only smart voters within Canada that see right through a lot of this political hoopla within hours of her making statements.
Stephen Jensen, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the $5 super chat. Says Corey wrote the Sovereigntist Handbook. He just released a revised edition talking about the current circumstances and context.
Yeah, and we profiled that on a couple of our shows when he put out an advertisement for it. And yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Philip Vespa says, but thank you so much, Stephen Jensen. Philip Vespa says, I'm just thinking from a more accelerationist mindset, tired of incrementalist Canadian conservative policies from Harper and Pierre. Alberta needs a Trump-like leader after independence.
Yeah, and
we accelerated right out of the country.
I don't want to wait 2.5 years for some second referendum. That's probably never going to happen. What I want is to win October 19th in an absolute landslide, take over the UCP, have the leadership review, put in a real hard-nosed leader, if we can get a Keith Wilson in there, and then declare a unilateral declaration from independence from Canada. And if they say no, then say, okay, then we hold the vote right here 1 month from now, period. And if it doesn't happen, then we're gone.
Thomas Muse says it shows their panic. Yes, it does. Chocolate says she bought him cowboy boots. Yeah, exactly. And Philip Vespa says, as an Ontarian, I despise Ford and hope he gets his comeuppance, really hoping Alberta gets its independence. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you as well from someone from Ontario.
But it's very interesting that both Kenny and Doug Ford are the main two names proposed to take over Pierre Poilievre. That just seems like ridiculous.
Well, maybe they saw the tactic that having the tool come in and then everybody hating that, so then everybody would go towards the
Danielle
other
Smith.
more
Yeah.
intelligent looking, better looking candidate in Pierre Poilievre. They could try to do the same tactic, like put in a Kenny there, and then everybody say, "Oh no, we actually want Danielle."
Yeah.
And hold on, I had one more. Oh, Todd says, "Oh, yummy! Try drizzling on your bacon now." Just remember, especially with food stuff, Nat is always right.
I wouldn't say that. You just like to think you're always right.
I am. But now let's go into Alberta and the world. It's a bit of a glitch there, but we're fine. Mary Zelaya says, quote, breaking, U.S. excluded Canada from trade talks with Mexico. USA and Mexico, 3 rounds of bilateral trade talks. USA and Canada, still nothing.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the Canadian mainstream media pitches this. They pitch it as Canada, the U.S., and Mexico are in trade talks. That's not happening. America's in talks with Mexico, and then they're in separate pre-talks with Canada. What's going on?
Is it a video or not? I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, it is a video.
Oh, okay. Because I wasn't sure if you wanted me to read it or not. No, it's not. It's a photo.
Okay. Sorry.
So I should read it.
Yeah, I think you...
trying to figure out what to do. USA and Mexico, 3 rounds of bilateral trade talks. With Canada, nothing. No formal negotiating process. No calendar, no call. 1 month before the USMCA review deadline, Carney ran on his ability to handle Trump. He was the Trump whisperer. The U.S. made their position clear. They'd rather talk to Mexico.
And again, what I believe the ultimate outcome of this is a yearly review on CUSMA. This is devastating for Canada. They're going to try to pitch that as a win, but what it does is hollow out the entire East Coast manufacturing sector, while Donald Trump can capitalize on tariff-free trade with Western provinces and their natural resources.
And yeah, BNN Bloomberg says U.S. excludes Canada from trade talks with Mexico. John Weeks, member of former ambassador to WTO and NAFTA chief negotiator, joins BNN to discuss trade talks a month ahead of the deadline.
Yeah.
And still nothing for Canada. Again, how do people not see through this?
Well, people do see through it
I
now,
know.
and they're starting to wake up. Even liberals are starting to wake up to this.
Yeah, we showed a video in the morning show.
Yeah.
But next from Benny Johnson says, quote, Spencer Pratt saying, I didn't know I'd be here tonight, but this is obviously God's plan, and I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to show everybody that I'm their mayor.
And there's a massive surge right now in California for Republicans, and Republicans are outnumbered 2-1. So they simply don't show up to the polls to vote most of the time. But there's going to be a lot of Republican candidates this time that actually qualified for these elections. So it's not two Democrats running against each other. So I expect possibly a lot of conservatives coming to power within California. The last time we had a governor that was Republican was Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was a huge disappointment. But also you have to remember Ronald Reagan actually came from the state of California back when it used to actually be the great state of California. Not anymore.
But I mean, Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag right now are I think it's the best exemplification of LA, as is in a good way, funnily enough.
Did you see an uphill battle next month? Absolutely not. I think the next 5 months, I'm going to have time to build out this team to show everybody the level of Democratic supporters that I have behind me, the heavy hitters that are in this room, that are all behind me. And I think this idea that I don't represent Democrats and Republicans and independents, anyone that's just a Los Angeles citizen that wants basic quality of life, I'll be able to show that in 5 months. Right now, the media likes to say, oh, he's this. I'm not that. I'm an Angelino who said enough is enough, and I had to step up. I didn't know I'd be here tonight, but it's obviously God's plan, and I'm going to go all the way, and I'm going to show everybody that I'm their mayor.
And again, his house got burned down in the mismanaged forest fires in California, and that's why he stepped up and originally ran. And he's got a lot of populist support behind him, and it's good to see.
Yes. But again, very ironic as well as if you know the reality show stuff behind it, it's great as well. I mean, in his story, as he said, he's a true Angelino. Bruce McGonigal,
which is not a good thing at this point. I used to live in Los Angeles, and yeah, it's a crazy town.
Bruce McGonigal says, at the rate Canada is going, pretty soon it will be considered a hate crime if you complain about land acknowledgements or complain about being called a colonial settler living on stolen land.
Yeah, and we were talking about Bill C-9 and things that were added to that this morning, but what he kind of says there is really true. Eventually, if you don't give a land acknowledgement, you're going to be committing a crime at a certain point. They're going to want to make that compelled speech. What they try to sneak into Bill 9 here, if it does end up passing Bill C-9, is that it's illegal to call the mass grave hoax an actual hoax, which I believe it is. So they can arrest me now.
Allegedly, in your opinion.
And I'd like just to take a moment, as Jenny did, to acknowledge where we are. Land acknowledgements really matter. They're about presence. They're about healing. They're about knowing that the lands that we live, work, and play in are also lands that are opportunities to build bridges, create connections, and to really
give up our private property rights. It's enough with these land acknowledgements already. We know what you're trying to do. You own nothing and be happy. You're trying to use DRIPA laws in order to take private property away, and you're trying to use these land acknowledgements as an emotional cudgel against the population.
And thank you so much, Stephen Jensen, for the $2 super chat saying Canada to spend another $600 million on media because, of course, they need more ways to spend it. They need their Pravda arm working properly for them, especially as they're losing more and more people.
It's very concerning what Stephen Jensen said about Corey Morgan there. I'm going to look into that immediately after the show, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow. But we're already going to be outspent by the tune of billions, if not tens of billions of dollars. We're going to have a few $1 million, and they're going to even try to stop that at this point. And they're going to be coming after content creators with these censorship bills. So they're going to go after that arm of the independence movement as well.
I also kind of wanted to show just this first part because it's insane as well. And if you weren't here during the morning show, the Canadian Senate amended Bill C9 to criminalize anyone who communicates a statement condoning, denying, or downplaying residential school harms, facing up to 2 years in jail.
2 years in jail if you deny what happened in residential schools and this mass grave hoax, which is ridiculous.
C9 be amended in clause 4 on page 2 by adding the following after line 14. 2.4. Everyone who by communicating statements other than in private conversation willfully promotes hatred against Indigenous peoples by condoning, denying, or downplaying the Indian residential school system. A is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or B is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction.
She looks so proud there.
Well, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And they'll probably have specialty counsels and not even bring you to a court of law to start sentencing you at a certain point in Canada. That's where we're kind of getting to.
They're fake human rights tribunals.
Yeah,
that's how they manage people.
That's the word I was looking for. The tribunals, that they're the fake tribunals that actually have real power in Canada to lord over you with some alternative legal system.
But now we'll go to your comments and then head over to RUMBLE. Michael Drader says, I'm FAFO, Free Alberta from Overreach. I really like that one. Someone please put that on a t-shirt.
That is good.
Todd says, no, hold on. Yeah, Todd says, Ford's a corrupt commie. Yes. Rage Against Machine says, awaken like the Saxons in the UK.
Well, I was watching The Fringe's video today, and he was talking about Ford, and he goes, he wears a hat that I think says Canada's not for sale, but it's made in China of all places. And it was the scandal that came out.
Todd says his brother more proof. I'm guessing Ford. Ghost of a Chance says Andrew Scheer. I can never say that name. Andrew Scheer already has the milk toast moniker. Andrew and his dairy cartel.
Yeah.
And then Glenn Gunn says the dairy cartel kills Alberta. Yes, and but other provinces as well too. Todd says we have no one defending us. Rage Against Machine says LA is cooked. Has been cooked. I mean, look into who the Mayor Karen Bass. I did a whole expose on her in Spanish of all things, and people didn't believe me, but people from LA were saying thank you so much for speaking up in Spanish about this. It was during the wildfires because nobody was talking about it.
Yeah, well,
intentional fires.
We actually got a little bit of traction when we did our Spanish videos within the Los Angeles area because there's such a big Hispanic population there.
Mm-hmm. But they were fully knew what was happening, and they don't like her at all.
No,
because again, lots of some people from Cuba, but also from Mexico that know what happened to communist government.
Well, it's interesting
in Latin America.
It's interesting on these city councils as well, because a lot of these communities are either complete Black communities, complete Mexican communities, and when you get into city councils, you'll have Hispanic people on the board and then Black people on the board. And there was a couple incidents where hot mics were actually recorded and then released, and they were just calling people each other racial slurs behind the scene before things started, things like that. When they were whispering to their colleagues that were of the same race, they were just talking absolute crap about the other race. And yeah.
What do they expect? Todd says we have Mitch Sylvester and crew. Very true. And Glenn Gunn also says, look at Fairlife, that milk thing. Owned by Coca-Cola, can't keep it on the shelf, all shipped from the East, fake milk by Minute Maid and Coca-Cola. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why people think Fairlife is good for you. It's not. Where are we? Hold on. Now I have to go scroll down. Culture Casino, thank you for coming back. And again, our interview with Culture Casino is up. It released yesterday, so go watch it. Very interesting. Culture Casino is from the US. And then tomorrow, I don't know if he'll be on, but I'll be on a panel on WDW Pro, usually with Culture Casino, to talk all things entertainment, culture war, Disney. I'm sure we'll talk about The Mandalorian and other things that are happening that are continue to be insane within culture. But Culture Casino says Canada is not going to get a real deal. If JD or another Trump-like president follows, Canada is screwed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to remember the timeline has now been expanded. At least if we stick on that timeline, we need Mitch Sylvester to really take over the UCP and shorten this timeline back down. But if it's stretched out to 2.5 years, we need a JD Vance within office, somebody that's going to recognize Alberta as an independent nation when we go into negotiations with Canada. Otherwise, Canada's not going to go into good faith negotiations, and there's nothing we can do about it at that point. So really paying attention to the U.S. midterms as well as the 2028 election is going to be crucially important at this point. I'll also say another thing, Culture Casino has a gardening channel.
Yes, called That Garden Place. So we know a lot of you have also talked about gardening and being interested in growing things. So go watch it. Go subscribe as well. They're all linked in his interview, but also is just That Garden Place.
Yeah.
And Culture Casino, as it sounds. That's the channel. Diane Gallant says they added the money to reverse the streaming tax, cutting out the middleman, but so they can continue to do it as well.
The problem with that streaming tax that Canada is making, it actually breaks the USMCA agreement. And this is just one of a litany of ways Canada is breaking that agreement. And they're talking about they want to extend it. The best they can hope for right now is a yearly review, because they have not interacted with the USMCA in good faith. They have been violating it for well over 5 years. This goes way back to the Biden administration that they were breaking this agreement with the United States.
Saltius Maximus says compelled speech. Exactly. I mean, it's just basically that. And Saltius Maximus says the Spanish Inquisition is starting to make sense.
Yeah.
Michael Drader says, Nat, I'll show you my FAFO shirt, courtesy of the French or acceptable French Derek. Oh, good that it's already a shirt then. I wasn't fully aware.
Yeah.
Trolladit says, Bass is a Marxist person. Yes, she is.
Yes.
Saltius Maximus says, Danielle Smith just came out on an interview saying she would respect the results of the referendum. Do we believe that?
Respecting the result of a referendum that's not binding means exactly what? The fact that she's never going to call a binding referendum here until that court case is cleared up, and she's made that clear. That's why we need to take over the UCP, get rid of Danielle Smith, and if it comes down to it, we're going to have to declare unilateral independence and just separate from Canada at a certain point if they don't want to give us that second referendum. We need to have an absolute blowout in this first referendum.
And Michael Drader says she has a week to call referendum number 2 before the AGM, and that is very true as well. Todd says, God bless President Trump and J.D. Vance. And Philip Vespa says she may respect the results, but that doesn't mean she won't drag her feet to call a second one or come up with, new excuses.
The entire plan is to stretch this out as long as possible while they federalize and collapse Canada.
Mm-hmm. And hold on, a few more. Todd says, so grateful to those 2 men. And then Michael Drader says, and Marco, and Holman, and Hegsa. And Todd says, a referendum on a referendum. What about the actual one? Was she going to be respecting that one? And that's the question. And that's why I think she gave herself this opportunity to say, oh, well, but I am respecting what you asked me to do. I'm doing a referendum on a referendum.
Yeah.
Just goes to further prove maybe what the true intentions were.
And thank you to Stephen Jensen for the super chats. And thank you to everybody for being here and participating. We're going to go over to RUMBLE now and finish the show over there like we usually do.
Yes, there's the 30-second wait screen. And also, before you go over there, please don't forget to subscribe. It really does help us out. And again, later tonight, the Unacceptable Fringe will have Mitch Sylvester on. And we'll be very interested to see that interview get together as well. So see you there.
Adios.
Let's get ready to rumble!
No.
Okay, let me go back in just because Stephen Jensen sent another super chat. Thank you so much, Stephen Jensen. For the $5 super chat, says Global News on YouTube reporting clash of independent leaders with Danielle's cost of separation, $400 billion. I'm shown in B-roll of us in Red Deer on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And we'll reread that super chat over on Rumble because a lot of people probably already left here.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's not 42, but thank you so much, Stephen Jensen. I just wanted to acknowledge it. But now we are going over to RUMBLE.
Let's get ready